Hi, Sunil. So we decided to do sixth grade, and our objective is to help students calculate the area of quadrilaterals. So we are going to learn the area of square, rectangle, trapezoid, and parallelograms. And we know that there are more quadrilaterals, but we chose these four. So this is our warm-up, and it's pretty basic, just to kind of get them thinking about shapes. So basically we have a square and a rectangle, and you just count the number of sides, count the number of corners, because that's kind of the basis for calculating the area. And then afterwards we would define quadrilateral, and as we know from taking your class, it is always a more complex definition than we think it is, but we would do it in a sixth grade form. So our outline, once we have reviewed the number of sides and corners, and then we defined a quadrilateral and kind of said what it was, we kind of talk about it talk about how to find the area of quadrilaterals. Spend about 5 minutes doing that, just kind of a little warm-up activity, and then or in addition to the warm-up, and then we would actually teach to find the area of a quadrilateral, and we would do this using a smart board, and students would take notes, so it would be kind of like more of a lecture format. And we would also use sample problems so that kids kind of get like the hands-on experience when solving for the area. So how do you actually find the area? For a square, it is base times height. And a rectangle, it's also base times height. And actually in a square, because every side is an equal length, you could sorry, I'm kind of sick. You could take one number and then square it because all sides are the same. So we could probably throw something in about that. And then for a trapezoid, it's B1, which is the top. Well, it doesn't really matter what your B1 is or your B2 because you could add them in either order. But you add B1 and then B2, divide it by, or then you add those together, then divide it by 2. And then you multiply by the height. And it's important to point out that the height is where that line is. It's not like the actual side. It's from the top to the bottom, right, like right here. And for a parallelogram, it is also base times height. But once again, the height is the line in the middle, not the actual side length, which we'd have to distinguish from between that and a rectangle and square. Area of quadrilaterals, we'd have these kind of sample problems, pretty basic, labeling a square with one side of 5, a base of 5, and a height of 5. So then they multiply those together, and then the same thing for this shape right here. You'd multiply the base times the height. Base is 8, height is 7. So just a couple problems. Here's another thing for a rectangle. Height of 5, base of 11, multiply together. And then after teaching the students how to find the area, we would have them complete a worksheet on perimeter and area, and this whole process would probably take about 20 to 25 minutes. The worksheet will be completed with table groups to kind of like help them with discussions and learning how to work better in a group together. And for today's students, we'll identify the shapes and calculate area, and then tomorrow we'll have perimeter and complete the rest of the worksheet. So we'd wait until both lessons are taught so that they could kind of coincide with one another for the homework. And this would be the worksheet. Students would have to identify what type of shape it is, which will be important when figuring out if you can multiply the base times the height or like seeing the actual height, because in a rectangle and a square it's the length of the side, but in parallelograms like such as this one that I'm pointing to, you multiply by the line, by that height. The height's different. So yes. Our closing activity, we'd go over the worksheet as a class, and then students would have the opportunity to just kind of like explain their answers and ask questions and say why, and if two different students have different numbers, they could say why they thought it was that answer and kind of give them a chance to talk about it. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.